If I had to make a judgment call, then I put all the blame on Cloud9 because they should have known what they were getting themselves into, and they just wasted all our time. And then they wasted even more of my time with this dog video that wasn't authentic at all.
We do have League of Legends news this week. Cloud9 released their highly propped up, highly anticipated and excited, again, speaking of North American esports, making a return, Last Shadow, LS, as everyone calls him, stands for Last Shadow, was recruited, big old hoopla. Couple matches into the season, though, Mitch, and 4 hours before a match, the day of an LCS match, released. What do you know?
Okay, what do I know? So, obviously, if you watched anything from Cloud9, you know fuck all. What do I know about LS? So, for those who don't know, LS is a extremely charismatic, very academically oriented analyst and coach in League of Legends with a troubled past. Definitely very strong personality, not subtle by any stretch of the imagination, and definitely had his own fair share of notoriety as a streamer and competitor on South Korea's League of Legends ladder. He also coached T1 for a brief stint before being removed very quickly because of the backlash from fans in South Korea who really disliked him because of an interaction I think he had with a Korean player. I don't think he was a pro player, but he was a sort of a streamer. And there's been a few different teams he's been on in the past. Anybody that watches this guy knows that he knows League of Legends. The guy can speak to the game really well, has a very strong philosophy about the game, and very strong opinions, not afraid to express them. I would consider him to be a relatively abrasive personality, but in some cases those can be effective, especially when it comes to being results oriented in League of Legends. Obviously dropping a coach 4 hours before a game is pretty crazy. And what we understand is that this was a bit of a surprise to LS as well. In the aftermath of this, the players were frankly soft throwing their games. They and what I mean by that is that they still won. I think they played against TSM in one of them, and they built Leandry's Torment. I think Blabber built it, or Fudge, or someone like that. They made some itemization choices that didn't make a whole lot of sense. Could be considered throwing that, and was supposed to send a message. Leandry's Torment is like the image of it is like a mask with crying. So there might be some significance to Leandry's that I don't know about. But the players looked like they were complicit in this protest about the decision made to remove LS at such short notice. So yeah, there you have it. Cloud9 obviously had to make a statement about this. They take a long time to do so. And then classically in esports fashion, they sit 4 people in front of a camera. They light the room professionally. And then these 3 sit and look while Jack explains the situation in as little detail as possible. The justification for this decision from Jack's perspective, I suppose in a vacuum, is reasonable. Citing things like fitting into structure, fitting into culture, general misalignment of ethos when it comes to what they want from this team. I want to point out that Blabber, who sat here on the right, was complicit in this soft flooring, I think, in terms of like what items he bought. So he's probably had to be dragged into line. The gentleman on the left of Jack is Max Waldo, who's the current head coach now, and someone I think who worked under or with LS for quite a long time. There's no reason to play audio here because Jack doesn't say anything that's really worth hearing. Listen, I know it's really hard to give an understanding to fans. Fans want to know everything. They want to know all the dirty laundry. They want the juice because they're so conditioned by these league journalists now who just give them this behind the scenes details that this is what people have been conditioned to expect. So no announcement with any sort of PR abstraction is ever going to be acceptable to fans. It's never enough. Unless it's like straight up Jack shitting on LS, very unprofessional, potentially harming his future opportunities outside of the fact that now, he'll have 2 very short coaching stints with top teams on his resume back to back. It's never enough for people. So there's a lot of discussion about this. And people are speculating a whole lot because there wasn't really much said in the announcement because there was a lack of detail, lack of granularity. Scott, people were inclined to insert some ideas. So I read through it. A lot of it's kind of garbage. I read this train from Monty, which is basically trying. I think it sort of mirrors what Jack says. So for those who don't know, Monty's very involved in the League of Legends scene once more after moving away from Overwatch. So he obviously is developing, I think, a content network as well, and he's on Summoning Insight and stuff like that. So he says to provide some insight on this. So this first statement, Scott, indicates that he might actually have some background information. Now, why would Monte Cristo know this? Well, Monte Cristo is paid by Cloud9. So, in some senses, he's sort of employed by Cloud9. Now, that might not be the correct term to use in his case, but he's also in bed with Dan Fiden. On B site, he's worked with Flashpoint, that's heavily bankrolled by Dan Fiden, who owns Cloud9. So you have to understand these guys are all. And I worked with Cloud9 and Monty because of Monty on an esports rap show, not unlike this one. But basically, Monty's saying, look, Cloud9 has spent a long time trying to set up these systems, and they want to implement these systems across all their teams. Monty says the LoL roster has been the first to implement these structures and they've been successful. Well, I mean, moderately so. I mean, I wouldn't say the other regions of this team have been all that great. Counter-Strike's starting to look a little bit better, but Valorant rather, but there's reasons for that. He's basically saying that they would have had to change these systems they spent a long time erecting to have LS have his way. You know what I mean? LS didn't want to do it the quote unquote C9 way. And he's saying look, this is a conflict of systems. Have some thoughts on that?
Yeah.
That's where we're at, Scott. That's what we
Thank you for that update. So back to Jack's statement. Here's where I think where they got themselves in a little bit of trouble. And obviously, yeah, it looks like he's surrounded himself with some props. And there's even
warm props.
Like sponsors even play on the LS B-roll. Like the sponsors come up, or maybe that's B-roll of LCS and it's their sponsors, but not good B-roll for that kind of stuff. If you're are you putting ads in your news post here? But where I think they shot themselves in the foot is what we got from Cloud9 is two statements that said nothing, right? That 4 hours before the match, we got a graphic press release saying LS has been released, right? Then we get this nothing press conference, right? Sure. You could have just added 5 more sentences to the first press release and explained that you did not see eye to eye on your systems and on yada, 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 and you drop one notice and be done with it. Why he got so much heat is they said the same thing, nothing, twice, right? And once really fancily, right? So just... You should have told us that 48 hours earlier, that, it was a conflict of process, right? And he's not going to adapt to us. We're not adapting to him. So we're going to go our separate ways. Didn't work out. It looked good on paper. When we all started talking to each other in real life, it wasn't a good idea. Cool. And I think to Monty's point, he got some shit like he was defending Cloud9. What are you, on the payroll? Are you defending Cloud9? I don't look at it as defending Cloud9. I look at it like you look at it. If he's working with Cloud9, he's probably got some inside fucking info that we should maybe listen to. Sure. Because I think Monty is a good resource of nuanced, reasonable takes and info. Yeah, he likes to push buttons, but mostly this kind of stuff, he's trying to tell you fucking something, right? So that's when you want to listen, right? And yeah, he's telling you something that's probably true because he hears it from the people that make these decisions, right? Now, what I would say to what his logic was maybe it's working in League of Legends, because I read that and I went, okay, they got a system in place. Okay, they're trying to get this going everywhere. Let's go. How do you judge how a esports team is doing in our space? Do you go look at what they're valued at? Do you go look at how many sponsors are on their T-shirts? Or
you look at their results.
Let's go look at what we can look at. Let's go look at their results. So I went and looked at Esports Earning, loved the website. And first thing I compared was, how is Cloud9 as an esports team? How much are they winning in comparison to everybody else? And yes, I do know that when you start getting into teams that have been involved in Dota, that can very easily skew prize winning very quickly, right? A League of Legends, not so much. Counter-Strike, not so much. But Dota, Liquid winning a Dota can drastically change that. Anyway, so I go look, and I start looking at when Cloud9 was in the last top 10 of esports teams, all their games winning money, right? You have to go all the way back to 2015 for Cloud9 to be in the top 10 aggregate, all the games, all the big teams, everything they play, right? 2015.
Right. That was an awful year for their League of Legends team, for the record.
There you go, right?
Not a good year for Sinnoh.
So, to Monty's point, their coaching system is starting with League of Legends, right? So okay, so we're not gonna detract that they don't do well in the other games. But then you look at the 3 games that they actually have done well in, prize money wise, right? Counter-Strike, Dota, League of Legends. So they won a major in Counter-Strike. There's a good chunk of that prize purse, and they've done quite well. I don't think they never won an international, but I think they've stacked up pretty well in Dota to win good chunks of prize money, right? And then obviously their League of Legends team was 3rd. So maybe their LCS and their League of Legends coaching hasn't caught up to the rest of their games quite yet. And obviously they don't even have a fucking Counter-Strike team anymore. But so then I went, okay,
right, that went to shit.
That went to shit. And obviously that was Henry. There probably wasn't a, overarching Cloud9. It'd be interesting if Henry came out and said the reason Counter-Strike failed was they made me use their system. That would be funny. But then I go, let's take it for what it's worth. Monty's talking about League of Legends in specific. That system started with League. To his credit, and because you got to give credit where credit's due, right? I filtered it all and went, let's look at how they do in comparison to everybody else in League of Legends. They're like top 9. They're in top 10. I want to say they're 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, somewhere in there. Historically for...
In NA or globally?
Globally. They are the best in NA. Prize money overall, all the years, T1 at the top. And
they usually make quarterfinals in Worlds, to be honest.
Right? So, in that sense, maybe this system they're talking about, again, to give credit where maybe it's due, they are seeing, the analysts, the people in charge of this at Cloud9, they are seeing positive traction in League of Legends, and so therefore it is ruling their decisions. Now, where it still gets weird, and I still go, okay, I get it. I'll give you all the credit for that. You got a system. You want to fucking go with it. You absolutely either... Did LS say he was going to come play in your system? Because that didn't go well. You knew what you were recruiting, and it didn't. So did he change his mind? Did he go, oh, fuck, on second thought, I don't want to do this? Or like, what happened? Because he's not, to your point, very well-known entity, personality-wise, coaching style-wise. There are very little unknowns in the world of LS, right? And because everyone is saying that it would have become L9, right? And that's what all the fucked up thing about it is. That's what and I'm not a League of Legends guy, but that seems like that's what the League of Legends fans were so excited about, was that LS was coming to Cloud9 to change and to bring his system, Korea, the whole 9 yards. Remember, this guy also started as a StarCraft player in Korea, right? Not a Korean guy, right? A foreigner in a foreign land, started with StarCraft before he moved to League. So, like, what happened? What is this huge disconnect from recruiting this world-famous guy with a system to the system didn't work? How does that happen so quickly, right? Or are they all lying? It has nothing to do with a system, nothing to do with a, conflict in how we like to coach, and did some shit go down that everyone is protecting everybody on? Did we have some fucking heated gamer moments happen behind the scenes? I don't know. But it just seems like if you're so into your coaching system, how are you going to recruit a guy that's either not behind that system or not acquiesce to his system? That's where the disconnect seems to be for me. But
look,
yeah,
I mean, you asked the right question. I think from what I know about LS, and to explain in chat, this is a person I coach, a fairly well-known individual in the League of Legends scene.
Yes.
I don't think you're going to get him out of South Korea unless you promise him that he can have carte blanche in terms of instituting his coaching style. I don't see that. He's coached like T1, Barbecue Olivers. He was CLG for a time on Tempo Storm. I mean, I remember. Yeah, God, he's the original Gamers 2, which before they became G2 kind of thing. Which I think, by the way, that never really actually they never eventuated. But look, the guy.
Yeah, there was drama there with that team.
I am struggling. Like, if I had to make a judgment call, then I put all the blame on Cloud9, because they should have known what they were getting themselves into, and they just wasted all our time, and then they wasted even more of my time with this dog shit video that wasn't authentic at all. So, okay.
Yeah.
Here's what I think that people don't understand. people don't understand these fucking. I don't want to say they're boomers because Jack's been in the industry for a long time, but these people don't understand that if you get people, warm props, these players to sit there and fucking show you the cheesy smile while you just say nothing for 30 seconds, that it doesn't resonate with people. Here's a great example of a clip that said basically just as much as Jack did, but the way it was shot made it much more authentic. This is Nate Shot talking about why they dropped Baby J and Eccles from their team. Another great example this week of an org picking up 2 players, flying one of them overseas to getting him a visa to play, and then fucking dropping them pretty much straight away. Spot the fucking difference. Nate Shot, by the way, clever bastard, doesn't really say all that much here at all. He's like, look, I mean, culture and fit and, wish him all the best. This dopey fuck says nothing, right? But the composition of this video, the way it's shot, it's just, has an element of scuff. He sat in front of his phone. He's probably looking at something to his left, but that doesn't matter. There's no lighting. He hasn't pulled anyone out there just to fucking stare at the camera. It's just his phone. When will esports organizations understand that trying to dress their turds up in a fucking bow and sprinkle glitter on it does not make it any more resonant with fans? Just fucking get your phone out and talk to people. Esports fans do not want that shit. Sponsors wants that shit, but who gives a fuck about them?
Well, and that's what I was going to bring up.
It's so easy.
This is a prime example. And again, we're not even talking about the context of what they're saying, because they both basically say nothing while saying nothing. Yeah. But the delivery, the down-to-earth, the grassroots, and obviously they're 2 very different human beings. Nate Shot streams, and he's a personality.
Nate Shot,
he's in front.
He studied under Hex.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He knows how to build brands and reach people.
And the funny thing about it is what we just witnessed there was a video made for investors and sponsors and a video made for fans. That's what the difference of those 2 videos are. Or that's who they're...
feels like.
Yeah, whether it's intentional or not. Because, Jack, fuck your white balance, become one of us, and again, obviously Nate's playing the game too,
say this from a fucking XR studio, by the way. Fucking XR studio, lots of money in this place, fancy as fuck. This place even sets on fire. Stick around, you'll see that later. So I want to point out the obvious irony in that, but I don't think you and I pretend to be anything that we aren't.
I
mean? We are just 2 turds that walked into a bar with flashing LEDs.
I mean, I'm just beholden to the investors till they pull the plug, but which, if you people don't start fucking watching, man, we're going to be in trouble. Speaking of fire, here comes the fire early. Oh, shit. Cue the fire. Man. All right. So, so we'll keep, we'll see what happens. Because also,
must we?
Yeah, Nate Shot's Valorant team is a dumpster fire. 16 players since the game came out they've signed so far. So again, he's just making better looking videos, not necessarily better videos in the sense of what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Let's just be clear there.
People were much more receptive to it, man. This is what I'm saying.
Totally.
And all you need to do is just dress your shit down. It might seem counterintuitive to people that come into the space that want to see really big production value, but look at how co-streams work.
Yeah.
Right? Why are co-streams taking off? Look at XQC's stream. The less production value that you try and use, the more authentic you as an individual you come across, because all these people are home, live in fucking scuffed places as well. Like that,
time and a place for that.
It's the difference between millennial and between Gen Z and Zoomer, right? Millennials love to project an image of prestige and money and power and fame or whatever, on Instagram and stuff like that. I think I've talked about this before. It doesn't work on Zoomers. They don't do that. They want authenticity. They don't want people. They see through images, projected images that people show on social media. So just keep that in mind. Fuck me. It's not hard to market to Zoomers. It's actually really easy because you don't have to spend that much money. You just have to fucking be honest.
Yep. Good take.